What's going on, everybody? My name is MT, and welcome back to DaFAQs, a show where I just answer frequently asked questions that people have on the internet, even though nobody asked me to. So yeah, Ant-Man is a Marvel movie that is coming out soon. You know, if you couldn't already tell from all the freaking commercials and promo material. Oh look, there's Ant-Man on Iron Man. Oop, now he's on Thor's hammer. Oh look, now he's on Captain America's shield. Oh look, now he's on rapper T.I.? I mean, T.I. isn't an Avenger, but if he was, his superpower would be going to jail. And also, he stopped that suicidal guy from jumping off of a building that one time. I wonder how that went. Yo, cuz, don't jump. You got everything to live for. My album drops in like 2 weeks. Just hold out till then. The new Ant-Man movie is due out in theaters on July 17th, and surprisingly, a lot of people don't know a whole lot about Ant-Man, which is surprisingly, since Ant-Man is one of the most popular comic book characters of all time. Second only, of course, to DC Comics' Arm Fall Off Boy, whose superpower is literally taking off his arms and beating people with them. I kid you not, this is a superhero that DC made, and he is absolutely terrifying. And what's even more surprisingly is that people are asking, who is Ant-Man's arch enemy, and who are Ant-Man's non-arch enemies? And to those people I say, what? Are you stupid? Who doesn't know about Ant-Man's really short list of enemies, many of whom have only fought him once or twice? Have you been living under a rock this entire time? Who could ever not know about the Time Master, an old scientist guy who was mad that he was being forced to retire at the young age of 65, as was his company's retirement policy, and he was like, no, I do not accept that. I'm going to build a ray gun that makes people old. And so he did that. He created a gun that turned actual young people into old people so that they could all just gather around and talk about how rap music is much too loud. Yep, and that is a lawnmower. People love mowing their lawns when I'm filming a video! Or the evil Trago, a jazz musician who could hypnotize animals and humans with his sweet, sweet saxophone skills. Or The Voice, a radio announcer guy turned evil who had the power to persuade anybody to do anything just by using his voice, but was stopped by the power of laryngitis? Yeah, Ant-Man gave him laryngitis, so he couldn't use his voice anymore. Hey, whatever works, man. Or Scarlet Beetle, a beetle who decides to take over the world with an army of insects after he's exposed to radiation that gives him the power to think like a human. But let's be real, if a beetle ever had the ability to think like a human, it would probably not take over the world and go straight to Chipotle instead. And let's not forget Alexander Gentry, aka the Porcupine, who constructed a battlesuit for the military that resembled a porcupine, but decided to use it himself because no one in the world could handle looking that fashionable at all times. I mean, who doesn't want to look like a scarecrow samurai for fun? The Porcupine would later go on to do a list of amazing things, like fight and lose to Ant-Man a good number of times, and finally trip and fall on his suit, which caused one of his porcupine quills to pierce his heart. You can't have a hole in your heart, because you will die immediately. And also the Human Top, a dude who realized at one point during his childhood that he could spin and twirl around really fast without getting dizzy. Almost like some sort of human top. And that he could use these powers for evil. Doing evil stuff like becoming a professional jewel thief, only to be stopped by Ant-Man and his girlfriend Wasp on numerous occasions, which I guess prompted him to rethink his life and completely drop the mantle of Human Top forever, because that name was stupid and calling yourself Whirlwind is even better. Also, he made himself a new costume and joined a group called the Masters of Evil because being evil is good. No, wait, it's evil. But I know what you're thinking, but MT, those are just his normal enemies who are not stupid at all. Who is Ant-Man's arch enemy? That is a good question, and I hope you like arches because Ant-Man's arch enemy is a man named Egghead, who is literally an arch. Well, his head is anyway. What's Egghead's power? Well, he has the power of both egg and head, of course. He can move eggs with his mind. Just kidding. That would be stupid. Almost as stupid as Arm Fall Off Boy. I can't believe you did that, DC. Egghead is just a really smart ex-scientist guy who became an ex-scientist when he was caught trying to steal sensitive scientific information for the purposes of selling it to people that shouldn't have that information. That led him to be imprisoned for treason, but then broken out of prison by crime lords who were like, that guy's really smart and he's in prison. Let's break him out so he can beat up Ant-Man because we don't like Ant-Man. He keeps on getting in our way. It's simple. We kill the Ant-Man. And so Egghead tries to do that, but he fails. And ever since then, I guess he's had this obsession with trying to kill Ant-Man. Probably because he's crazy, which is not that hard to believe because he has more than enough room for crazy thoughts in that ginormous head of his. It's huge! He should literally start renting out advertising space on there to make a little money on the side. Anyways, though Egghead is Ant-Man's arch nemesis and is pretty much exclusive to Ant-Man, I would probably say that the most formidable of all the enemies that this Ant-Man has faced is Ultron, the robot that he created with his own two hands. But MT, Ultron was made by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner! Well, no, he wasn't. I mean, in the movies, yeah, but in the comics, Ultron is this Ant-Man's baby. His very, very deranged, genocidal robot baby. And I say this Ant-Man because this Ant-Man, Hank Pym, is the first and the original of all the Ant-Men's. That's right, I said men's because there have been more than one Man of Ant in the comics, which you would know if you weren't too busy doing stupid stuff like doing your taxes or talking to girls. What? So stupid. What a waste of time. So yeah, later down the line, Scott Lang, an electronics expert who turned into a life of crime, would eventually turn to a life of not crime as the second Ant-Man, who is the main focus of the new Ant-Man movie as portrayed by Mr. Paul Rudd. And in terms of a rogues gallery, he didn't really have a whole lot of enemies like his buddy Hank did, which is probably a good thing considering that Hank had a lot of weird ones. I mean, Scott Lang definitely fought a lot of guys as Ant-Man when he was a part of a team like the Avengers, but he didn't really have a whole lot of enemies that were like, I'm gonna get you, Scott Lang, specifically, I hate you, specifically, I hate you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, Scott Lang was more of a, hey, let's go fight bad guys as a team, and if we make any enemies, they're going to hate us as a team kind of guy. I mean, he did tussle with Taskmaster a lot in the past, and there was that one time when Dr. Doom killed his daughter, and he was pissed off at Dr. Doom for a little bit, but Dr. Doom turned good for like 2 seconds and brought his daughter back to life, so I guess they were cool after that. But yeah, not a lot of enemies, but I would say he does have an arch enemy though, and that arch enemy's name is Darren Cross. Darren Cross, the head of Cross Technological Enterprises, is diagnosed with a really sucky heart condition that forces him to put a really high-tech pacemaker in his body just to survive. And yeah, the pacemaker worked and even gave him superhuman strength, but the downside to it was that his heart was working in super mega overtime, which caused him to need like a zillion different heart transplants. So he decided to do what anybody would do in that situation and kidnapped one of the world's greatest heart surgeons and steal hearts from hobos on the street. And then Scott Ant-Man steps in and distracts Darren Cross long enough for the surgeon to not replace Darren Cross's heart, which then leads to him keeling over and dying. But later on, Darren Cross's son, Augustine, would go on to steal Scott Lang's daughter's heart. But no, not in a romantic way. He literally kidnapped Scott Lang's daughter and took out her heart, like right out of her body, in order to use her special heart for one last surgery on his father's body that he kept preserved this whole time, which then resurrects Darren Cross from the dead. So yeah, after that, Darren Cross just like runs away with his son after taking Scott's daughter's heart, which leaves Scott to like scramble to find a new heart for his daughter, which he does, thankfully. But yeah, I can't imagine that Scott is all that thrilled with Darren Cross after that one. Darren Cross is actually going to be in the Ant-Man movie, but he's going to be using the Yellow Jacket armor, which is something that does not happen in the comics at all, so that should be different. But yeah, to my knowledge, Scott Lang doesn't really have a whole lot of exclusive enemies, but I could be wrong, so let me know in the comments if I missed anybody. Probably did. And yes, I do know that there is a third Ant-Man after Scott Lang, but he's not going to be in the movie, so I'm not going to talk about him. But, you know, there's always Google if you want to know more about him. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it! Or you can just leave a thumbs up on this video. It also makes me very happy on the inside. My name is MT, and those were DaFAQs. And if you didn't know, now you know. Catch you guys later.